Good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon.
New Perek. The Mishnah says, Arusa v'shemeres yavam le'sheisos le'neitlis ksuba. And Arusa, that's if she's betrothed, I mean she has kedushin, but they didn't yet get married under the chuppah. Or shemeres yavam, that's when the brother passes away without children, and she's meant to marry his brother, but she hasn't yet married his brother. And in the interim, either between the Eirusin and the Nesuin, or between the death of the brother and the marriage to the other brother, she is suspected of committing adultery. So she cannot drink, but she loses her ksuba. If she was warned and she violated the warning, she loses her ksuba. Shanemar, how do we know that she doesn't drink? Because it says in the pasuk, Asher tista isha tachas isha, the woman strays under the jurisdiction of her husband. In other words, she's under the dominion of her husband at the time. So the words tachas isha exclude arusa neshemeres yavam. She's not tachas isha, and therefore the waters of Soita do not work for her. Therefore, she doesn't drink them. Almana l'kayin gadol. If an almana is married to a kayin gadol, which she shouldn't be, it's forbidden. It's a forbidden marriage. Grusha v'chalutza l'kayin hedyet, or a grusha or chalutza married to an ordinary kayin. Mamzeres or nesina l'yisrael, mamzeres or nesinas from the Givonim. David HaMelech asked them to marry into the Jewish people. So if a mamzeres or a nesina marries a proper yid, bas Yisrael, a mamzer or a nasin, or a Jewish girl marries a mamzer or a nasin. So all these cases, the kedushin is chal, but it's forbidden. In all these cases, she doesn't drink the waters of Soita, but she loses her ksuba. In the case where she was warned and she violated the warning, she loses her ksuba. The following cases are also, she cannot drink the waters of Soita, but she loses her ksuba. If she admits that she is defiled. Our witnesses came and said that they saw her become defiled. Or she says, I refuse to drink. I don't necessarily admit my guilt, but I refuse to drink. In all these cases, she doesn't drink the waters of Soita and she loses her ksuba. However, what happened in a case where the husband says, I don't want to give her to drink? So she's muchen to drink. She is okay with drinking, but the husband doesn't want to give her to drink. Or if the husband lived with her on the way, and then there's no point in her drinking because the waters won't be effective, and therefore she can't drink. So in these cases, the husband has to divorce her and pay her ksuba, and she doesn't drink the waters of Satan. What happens if she's meant to drink the waters of Satan, but before she actually gets to drink the waters of Soita, the husband passes away. So she can't drink it now, because the whole purpose of drinking is that she should be permitted to her husband. And because the husband passed away, there's no point in drinking. So the question is, what happens with her ksuba? Do we assume that she's guilty until proven innocent? Or do we assume that she's innocent until proven guilty? Excuse me 1 second, I'm just going to close the curtains over here so I can see. I'm sorry about that interruption. So, Meisu Baleim Achalei Shasu. The husband died before she actually got to drink the waters of Soita. Beishami says, since she's not going to be drinking, and there's no way to prove her guilt, so from the husband's inheritance, she gets a ksuba, because she's innocent until proven guilty. And in her innocence, she's entitled to a ksuba. Beisil say, she either drinks or forfeits her ksuba. In other words, obviously Beisil is not recommending that she should drink the waters of Soita for no purpose. It's an expression for saying, since she can't drink to prove her innocence, she forfeits her ksuba. So Beisil says she's guilty until proven innocent. Shammai says she's innocent until proven guilty. The halacha is that it's forbidden to marry a woman who is pregnant from a previous marriage. And it's also forbidden to marry a woman who is nursing a baby from a previous marriage. So you have to wait until she gives birth, and you have to wait 24 months, and only then can you marry her. What happened if a man married a woman who was mu'beres chavere, she was pregnant from a previous marriage, or she was nursing a baby from a previous marriage? So being that this marriage is a forbidden marriage, he's not allowed to marry a woman in such a state. So lo sheises, if she became a seita, lo sheises lo neitlas ksuba. So we treat it the same as the mamzeres and the sina Yisrael, and she cannot drink the waters of seita, and she forfeits her ksuba. Divrei Reb Meir, that's the opinion of Reb Meir. The Chachamim say, Yachalu lafrisho lachziro lachar zman. Chachamim say this should not be treated like a proper forbidden marriage, because in the cases of the forbidden marriages that we spoke about before, she's forbidden point blank. Nothing can change. But over here, in essence, he can separate from her and go back to her at a later date. In other words, once she is finished nursing the baby from the previous marriage, she's permitted to him. So it's only a time question. So therefore, according to the Chachamim, she can drink the waters of Seita. She's not considered a forbidden. This is not considered a forbidden marriage, and she can drink the waters of Seita because Yachalul Afrisha Lachzira Lachazman, he can separate from her and then take her back at a later date. Islandess. An islandess is a woman who has a condition where her womanhood doesn't actually develop properly. She can't have children, and she doesn't have the normal features of a healthy woman. Uskena, or an older woman who is too old to have children. Or a woman who cannot, we know that she cannot have children. So in all these three cases, a man who is young and capable of fathering children is forbidden to marry any of these three cases. He's not allowed to marry an islandess, he's not allowed to marry a skena, and he's not allowed to marry an einer uya leilid. The reason being, because he has a mitzvah of pru'urvu, he has a mitzvah to be fruitful and multiply, and this woman is going to prevent him from fulfilling the mitzvah. So therefore, he has to marry a woman that can have children and not a woman that cannot have children. So what happens in a case where he did marry an islandess or a skena or an einer uya leilid, and she became a seita? So we treat it, according to the Tanakama, like any other forbidden marriage. So she forfeits her ksuba, but she cannot drink the waters of seita. Well, Rashi says, on the she'ener u'ya leilid, if you look at the Rashi she'ener u'ya leilid, Rashi says, sheshasas case ikrin. She'ener u'ya leilid means a woman who has medically been prevented from having children. Va'asuris l'kaima l'mishe'ein loy banim. She's only forbidden for someone who has no children. Stavi Yisrael al because Yidden are commanded to be fruitful and multiply. But if he has children already, then the prohibition doesn't apply. That's what Rashi's words imply. He says, Asura l'kaima l'misha ein loibanim. Only someone who doesn't have children is not allowed to keep such a wife. An islandess is kind of so we treat her like a forbidden marriage, and just like when the cases of the forbidden marriages that we had before, she doesn't drink the waters of Seita and she loses her ksuba. Rebbe Lezer disagrees, and he says, since he's able to marry another wife who is able to have children and have children from the other wife, and we just said that if he has children, there's no problem. So the prohibition of a young man being married to an islandess, a skena, or an einer uya leilid is only if he doesn't have another wife. But since he can marry another wife and have children from the other wife, and then this wife will no longer be forbidden to him. So therefore, she can drink the waters of Seita, and we treat her like a kosher wife. Shar kol hanoshim. What about an ordinary healthy wife, a regular woman? She has a choice to drink the waters of Seita or to forfeit her ksuba. Says the Mishnah further, Eishes Kayin, the wife of a Kayin, Shaisa can drink the waters of Seita if she's in a case of a suspicious adulteress. And once she drank the waters of Seita and the waters of Seita find her innocent, she is permitted to continue living with her husband, even though he is a Kayin. Eishes Saris, the wife of a Saris. A Saris is someone who is not capable of having children. He doesn't have any of the various features of manhood are lacking by him. Shaisa. So if she became a Seita, the wife of a Saris, and she was warned, and she violated the warning. She drinks the waters of Soita like any other woman. Pointing that out. The warning that the husband delivers, saying that you should not seclude yourself with this and this man, if that man is a relative of hers, she could still be warned not to seclude herself with this relative. And it could be anyone. It could be her father, it could be her brother, anyone, any relative of his. The husband says, I don't want you to seclude yourself with this man, and she violated the husband's warning, she becomes a Satan. Chutz min hakatan, the only exception of a child under bar mitzvah, and someone who is not a man. And the Gemara is going to discuss at length later in the Gemara what exactly the definition of Misha Einay Ish is. Ve'elu shebezdin mekanin lahem. The following women can become a Soita if Bezdin warns them. And Bezdin actually, if Bezdin sees, or it's brought to Bezdin's attention that this woman is not behaving appropriately, Bezdin will deliver a warning in the place of the husband. Which cases does this apply? Mishin is charish baila. If the husband became a deaf mute, or he lost his mind, or he was imprisoned. So in all these three cases, Bezdin will take the place of the husband and deliver the warning when and if necessary. Now Bezdin taking the role of the husband and delivering the warning is not in order to be able to give her to drink the waters of Satan, because that would not apply in a case where Bezdin delivered the warning. It only applies where the husband delivered the warning. But the purpose of Bezdin delivering the warning is that if she violates that warning, she will forfeit her ksuba. Rabbi Yasi says in the case where the husband is in prison, then the warning that's delivered by Bezdin can even be effective to cause her to drink the waters of Soita, but it'll have to wait until the husband comes out of prison, and the husband will be able to take her to the Beis Hamikdash and give her the waters of Soita based on the warning that she received from Bezdin. That concludes the Mishnah, and we're ready to go on to the Gemara now. Frek the Gemara. The first din in the Mishnah was about Arusa v'Shemeres Yavam, that an Arusa, a woman who is betrothed and not yet married, or a Shemeres Yavam, that's her husband died without children, and she's waiting to be, she's waiting for the brother of the dead husband to be miyabim her. So in both these cases, the Mishnah said that she cannot drink the waters of Soita, but she does forfeit her ksubah. Frek the Gemara, haknuya maknila, kanila. Are you implying that she does mishtahud leishasya, that she doesn't drink the waters of Soita, but a warning can be delivered by the arus or by the yavam who hasn't yet married her? Where do we know this from? Tan Rabbanan learned Nabraisa. It says in the pasuk, in the beginning of Parsha Soita, speak to the Bnei Yisrael and say to them. So we have a double lashon here. A double lashon usually comes to include something more. So this extra pasuk comes to include an arusa and a shemeres yavam for warning. That an arus, if he just betrothed her, he didn't yet marry her, he can warn her if he sees her misbehaving. And the same applies to the brother-in-law who hasn't yet married her. And our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Yonasan. Tanya, we learned Nabraisa, Tachas Isheich, it says in the Parsha Soita, Tachas Isheich, under the dominion of your husband. Prat la arusa. So the word Tachas Isheich comes to exclude an arusa who is just betrothed because she hasn't yet married the husband. Yachol shani meitzi af shemeres yavam. So you might think that this should exclude also a shemeres yavam because she hasn't yet married the yavam. Talmud leimar ish ish. So it says at the beginning of the parasha, ish ish kisista ish. And the double lashon ish comes to be marba something, comes to include something more. It comes to include not only a husband can give a warning, but the brother-in-law who is waiting to marry the sister-in-law can also deliver a warning, and it's effective. Divrei Rabbi Yashia. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yashia. So Rabbi Yashia holds that by an arus and an arusa, there is no halacha of Soita whatsoever. And by a Yavama, and a Yeshmeres Yavam, and the Yavam, there is a halacha of Soita. Rabbi Yonasan disagrees. He says, Tachas Isheich prat l'Shmeres Yavam. When it says Tachas Isheich, under your husband, in other words, the dinim of Soita only apply when she's married to the husband. But a Shemeres Yavam who's not married yet to the Yavam would be excluded. Should I exclude Shemeres Yavam and not exclude an Arusa? Talmud Leimar, Asher Tista Isha Tachas Isha. So we have a pasuk that says Asher Tista Isha Tachas Isha. So besides the pasuk Tachas Isheich, we have a pasuk Asher Tista Isha Tachas Isha, which Prat Larusa comes to exclude an Arusa as well. So the way of thinking here is different by Rabbi Yonasan than it is by Rabbi Yashia. Because Rabbi Yashia, when he had one pasuk, he used it to exclude an Arusa. He didn't use it to exclude a Shemeres Yavam. By Rabbi Yonasan, the first thing he did when he had a pasuk is he excluded immediately Shemeres Yavam, and then only when he had another pasuk did he exclude an Arusa as well. So Mar Alima Le Arusa. One holds that an Arusa is more svara to say that she should be considered like a regular wife, the Kedusha Didei. Because
Alima means stronger.
Called the Alim Gvar. So Mar Alima Le Arusa, one holds that Arusa is more svara to say that she should be the same as a regular wife, the Kedusha Didei, because it's his Kedusha, he gave her Kedusha. The Seiklin Al Yadeh, and if she's Mezaneh, she gets Skila. Mar Alima Le Shemeres Yavam, and the other svara holds, the other opinion holds that Shemeres Yavam is stronger. Shemeres Yavam is more similar to a regular wife, because by Shemeres Yavam, she's not lacking chuppah. Shemeres Yavam, Hayavama, the first Mishnah in Kedushin says, Hayavama niknes bebiyah. There's no preliminary arrangements. So by an Arusa, he can't live with her until there's chuppah. But Hayavama niknes bebiyah. So she's not lacking mesira lechuppah. Therefore, according to him, she is more similar to a regular wife. So therefore, the Gemara says that our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yonasan, because Rabbi Yonasan excludes both an Arusa and a Shemeres Yavam, and that's why our Mishnah says that there's no drinking of the waters of Soita by an Arusa and by Shemeres Yavam. Frag the Gemara, Rabbi Yonasan, Hai Ish Vayavid. According to Rabbi Yonasan, who excludes both an Arusa and a Shemeres Yavam from drinking, what does he do with the pasuk Ish Ish, which comes to obviously include something more than we thought? He uses Ish Ish to include the wife of a deaf mute, the wife of a Shaita whose mind is not working properly, and the wife of a Shimum. Rashi says Shimum means Lokoi B'timin Leiv, a person who is smitten with, he's not too clever, he doesn't really know what's going on. So in these cases, as we said in the Mishnah, that Bezdin would stand in the place of the husband and deliver the warning. So Ish Ish comes to include also these cases of an Eshes Chedesh, an Eshes Sheita, and Eshes Shimon. If you remember, Rabbi Yonasan excluded one from Tachas Isheich and one from Tachas Isha. Rabbi Yashia only excluded from Tachas Isheich. What does he do with Tachas Isha? And for the Gemara, uses the word Tachas Isha for a hekish, to compare the man to the woman and the woman to the man. There's a braisa towards the end of this perek where we learn that all the dinim that apply to the man apply to the woman, all the dinim that apply to the woman apply to the man, and over there the braisa will enumerate which dinim we're referring to. But in any case, we need the pasuk Tachas Isha to tell you that there's a hekish of Ish le'isha and Isha le'ish. Frek the Gemara, Ela Taimer d'chsive hanikrai. So why do we say that an Arusa and a Shemeres Yavam cannot drink? Or according to one opinion, just one of them cannot drink? It's Ela Taimer d'chsive hanikrai. It's only because these psukim come to exclude them. Otherwise, I would have thought that an Arusa can drink. When Reb Acha bar Chanina came, he came from the south. He brought a brisa in his hand which said, it says that no man has lived with you besides your husband. So he said, the brisa says that from the pasuk we derive that the whole concept of Soita can only exist when the Baal lived with her, the husband lived with her before the Baal did. But if the Baal lived with her before the adulterer, lived with her before the husband, then the whole din of Soita doesn't apply. So in a case of an Arusa and a Shemeres Yavam, she hasn't lived with her husband yet. So why would we think that the dinim of Seita would apply at all, that we need to have psukim to exclude them? The pasuk Balada Yishich can already tell me enough that in any case where she hasn't yet lived with the husband, the dinim of Seita don't apply. Amar Rami Bar Chamas, and Rami Bar Chamas said, no. It's possible, there could be a case where the Arus, against the halacha, lived with her before they were married. So they were already betrothed to each other. He already gave her kedushin, but they hadn't been chuppah yet. And the Arus lived with her beveis aviha, and therefore it's called mashchivas baal, mashchivas baal.
And I guess he would be called Siddur Baal because he could be koine her babiyah.
The Baal because he's the one who gave her kedushin, and the Isser of her being mezanah is because of his kedushin. So, and he's warning her not to be nister with this man because it stands in the way of the kedushin that he gave her. So he's considered the Baal as far as the dinim of Seita are concerned. But the problem was that if he's a proper Arus and she's a proper Arusa, which means they never lived together, then how could it's not called Mashchivas Baal, Mashchivas Baal? So the Gemara says it's possible that he lived with her against the halacha.
Yeah.
Says the Gemara, the Kavasa Gabe Shemeres Yavam. So what would be the equivalent to that in the case of Shemeres Yavam? You'd have to say that the brother-in-law lived with her after the husband's death before he actually performed Yibum. Ha Shemeres Yavam Karisla. So you're going to call her a Shemeres Yavam? Ishtamal Yusahi. Then she's a proper wife. How does a Shemeres Yavam become a wife? Through Bia. So if the Yavam lived with her before the Yibum took place, that's the Yibum. The Amarav Kanalakil. And this is especially a problem according to Rav, who says that in such a circumstance, where the Yavam lived with the Yavama, and it was not for the intention of Yibum, he's acquired her for all purposes. She's fully his wife. So if she's fully his wife, then she's no longer a Shemeres Yavam. So if he didn't live with her, then there was no Shchivas, Kadma Shchivas, Baal Shchivas Baal, she can't become a Seita. And if he didn't live with her, if he didn't live with her, there's no Kadma Shchivas, Baal Shchivas Baal, she can't become a Seita. And if he did live with her, then she's not a Shemeres Yavam anymore, then she's his proper wife. So how could there be a case of a Shemeres Yavam becoming a Seita? Going back to the question we asked before in the Gemara, why do we need a pasuk to exclude her? It's just not possible for a Shemeres Yavam to become a Seita because there's no Kadma Shchivas Baal Shchivas Baal. And if there is Kadma Shchivas Baal Shchivas Baal, she's not a Shemeres Yavam anymore. She's a proper wife. Zak the Gemara Kishmul. So we'll have to go according to Shmuel, not like Rav who says Kana Lakil. We'll have to go according to Shmuel. Shmuel says that if the Yavam lived with the Yavama and it was not for the intention of Yibum, he only acquires her in connection with certain halachas that are enumerated in the parsha. Let's look at the Rashi Kishmuel right on the side. Rashi says Kishmuel, Hada Asakra Lemuti Kishmuel. The fact that we need a pasuk to exclude a Shemeres Yavam from the laws of Seita goes according to Shmuel. Amar Leikana Ledvarim Amurim Beparsha. Shmuel says that if the Yavam lived with the Yavama and it was not with the intention of performing the mitzvah of Yibum, he wasn't intending to marry her through this bia, so he only acquires her for certain halachas. Those things that are mentioned specifically in the parsha of Yavama. Lakum Hashem achiv ben achlasai, that he gets the brother's share in the inheritance. Will a paitra beget, that he's going to have to give her a get. The fact that a Yavam can acquire a Yavama just with any bia, we learn from the pasuk Yavama Yavayaleha. It doesn't say that the brother-in-law should take her as a wife. It just says he should live with her. By doing so, he automatically takes her as a wife. Ashmina, this pasuk teaches us that the bia is already the marriage. Hilkach therefore lemidi the itmar b'hach parsha serabinukra nisu and halalu. For those things that are mentioned in the pasuk, the Torah includes through such a marriage. But for other matters, it's not considered a proper marriage. What does the parsha say? She's absolved from chlitza through this yibum, and that the brother, the one who lived with her, He inherits the property of his brother. And the other brothers don't get any share anymore. But for other matters, she's not considered his wife.
So for all practical purposes, they're not married.
Right. And therefore, she's still considered a Shemeres Yavam. And that can explain how it's possible to have a Shemeres Yavam where Kadma Shchivas Baal Shchivas Bayim. If that's the case, then Rav and Shmuel are not an original machlekes. Because according to the Yashia, who says that a Shemeres, what did Rabbi Yashia say, if you remember right at the beginning of the Gemara? Rabbi Yashia said that we have a pasuk to exclude Shemeres Yavam, that we include Shemeres Yavam in Ish includes Shemeres Yavam in the Dinim of Sotah. Right? How can a Shemeres Yavam be included into the Dinim of Sotah? How can there be a Shemeres Yavam Sotah? The only way there can be a Shemeres Yavam Sotah is if you hold like Shmuel, that like Kana L'Dvarim Amurim B'Parsha. So they were talking about the Yavam lived with her, not with the intention of marrying her, and she's still considered a Shemeres Yavam. And Rabbi Yonason, who excludes the Shemeres, Rabbi Yonason, who holds that Shemeres Yavam is excluded he holds that Shemeres Yavam is excluded from the Dinim of Sotah.
Both are excluded.
No, according to Rabbi Yashia,
according to Rabbi Yashia, only Daruso is excluded, right. And Rabbi Yonason exclude both.
Yes. So, but as far we're concerned right now with the Shemeres Yavam. Shemeres Yavam, according to Rabbi Yashia, would be included, and according to Rabbi Yonason, would be excluded. So why would Rav and Shmuel bother having a machlekes, whether Kana L'Kel or Kana L'Dvarim Amurim B'Parsha? It should have said that Rav the Amar Rabbi Yashia, Shmuel the Amar Rabbi Yonason. Rav goes according to Rabbi Yashia, and Shmuel goes according to Rabbi Yonason. Amar Lach Rav. So Rav will answer. I could say my position that a Yavam will live with a Yavama not with the intention of Yibum is kind of her for all matters. She becomes his proper wife. I could say that even according to Rabbi Yonason. From the fact that we need a pasuk to exclude the Shemeres Yavam from the Dinim of Sotah, that's itself a proof that she's a proper wife. Because or else, why would you need a pasuk to exclude her? Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel would say, I can say my position that he's only kind to her L'Dvarim Amurim B'Parsha, even according to Rabbi Yashia, who says that a Shemeres Yavam is included in the Dinim of Sotah. Why? Since we need a pasuk to include her, if she's a proper wife, then you don't need a pasuk. She's like any other wife. Just like any wife is included in the Dinim of Sotah, this woman would also be included in the Dinim of Sotah. Since we need a special pasuk to include her, that's a proof that she's not his wife yet, and therefore we need a special pasuk to say that even in a case where Kadma Shchivas Baal Shchivas Bayil, even if the Yavam already lived with her, we need a special pasuk to include her into the Dinim of Sotah, because otherwise we would not consider her a candidate to become a Sotah, because she's not his proper wife. So the machlekes of Rav and Shmuel is not necessarily tied up with the machlekes of Rabbi Yonason and Rabbi Yashia. You can actually do it either way. You could say that they follow, as we thought l'chatchila, that the Rav follows Rabbi Yonason and Shmuel and the other, or we could say that it's the other way around. They're both a possibility. This concludes our blot. B'yetz Hashem, to be continued tomorrow at 3.